Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
Goes after with Savard. Knocked off the boards, taps and lets it go. Turnbull lets one fly. That was knocked down by Robinson, and there goes Lafleur and Lemaire. One man back. Just Trevor Johansson. Lemaire over to shot. He scores! 3-on-1.
Well, the Leafs were going for the goal, got caught in the Montreal zone, and when you let Lafleur wind up and have two teammates with him, well, it usually ends up in a pretty fancy play, and that's what happened here. The drop pass to Lemaire, right back to Shutt. He can trigger that puck. In before Paul Matier could move very far, and it's 2-0 Montreal. Steve Shutt collects the goal for Montreal.
Montreal goal, scored by number 22, Steve Shutt. Assist, number 25, Jacques Lemaire, and number 10, Guy Lafleur. Time 13.
Have we got any time left for John? That was for John, though. For whatever reason, John, and by the way, all of our guests today brought to you by the Vancouver Giants. For whatever reason, John, yesterday we brought up Steve Shutt.
Yep.
The Habs are in town today, so we found some old Steve Shutt. The guy could put the puck in the net. What do you think of when you see footage like that?
Well, believe it or not, that was Bill and Brian.
Yep.
And sitting just to the right was a young John Shannon.
Wow.
I was there. Yeah.
What job were you doing at that point?
I was stats guy.
Yeah.
I was a stats guy. So we were there. We were in the gondola, Maple Leaf Gardens. Nothing better on a, those were special games at times. I'm not sure. Was that a regular season game or a playoff game?
It was late October 77.
Yeah. That was my first year. That was my first year working at Hockey Night in Canada.
Wow.
And those were special nights when Montreal came to town. And Steve Shutt, of course, Steve Shutt was a hero in Toronto. He played for the Marlboros.
Yeah.
Was a big scorer in junior hockey in the OHA at that point. His centerman was Dave Gardner, and his winger was Billy Harris.
Wow.
And they were the best line in junior hockey 5 years earlier than that.
Yep. I remember Billy Harris, if I'm not mistaken, getting traded for Butch Goring.
Islanders, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then he went on to his most famous stuff, Donnie, which was Harry O's in Manhattan Beach.
A restaurant?
That was his bar.
Oh, okay. I haven't been there.
He owned the bar in Manhattan Beach. It became a hockey haunt for years.
Wow. Expanded.
By the way, I'm a little disappointed in you.
Uh-oh. Yeah, why?
When it comes to
join the club.
When it comes to Vancouver Montreal rivalries, because when the Canucks first made the playoffs, who did they first play?
Oh, yeah. Montreal. Yeah, they won game
Montreal
one.
Game two, I believe.
Game two. Sorry, you're right. With Gary Smith.
And no. That was it. They started Kenny Lockett in game one, and they came back with Gary in game two. That's right.
Yeah,
that's
because
right.
Ken Lockett...
And they lost the series 4-1.
Yeah, Ken Lockett finished the season with 2 straight shutouts, so they went with him in game one, came back with Gary Smith and won game 2. You're right.
Yeah. I tell you what, as a kid in Vancouver, that was as crazy as hockey could get. Not only were the Canucks finally in the playoffs, but they were playing the Montreal Canadiens.
Oh, yeah.
That was special.
Yeah. Okay. We're out of time.
History lesson.
Your thoughts on Lake Titicaca?
It's beautiful in the summer, but their summers are winter, so I never figure out what to go.
There you go. Hey, okay, John. Austin Matthews and Alex Ovechkin both get 2 goals last night in Washington in a Leafs victory. How would you compare those two as Alex gets closer and closer to Wayne?
Well, both pure snipers. Both have a different style of shooting the puck. And it's fascinating to say that Ovechkin has a much more magnetic personality than the American does. Mm-hmm. But let's face it, the numbers that Austin Matthews is putting up, the opportunity he's been given to play in Toronto, has truly been amazing. And I think we touched on this a while ago when we're measuring greatness, and with 49 goals behind Wayne now with Ovechkin, there's a good chance that Matthews beats them both. When you think of numbers and how long Austin Matthews can play. And let's face it, Matthews has played in a league that is much more open to scoring than when Ovechkin started. And so from that perspective, I think that there's nothing that can stop Austin Matthews from surpassing both Gretzky and Ovechkin.
John, take a look at the Western Conference standings. Canucks lead by 1 point over the Jets, the Avalanche, the Stars. Boy, this is going to be fun going down the stretch here as to who's going to come out of the West with the top seed.
Well, Rick, would it surprise you if I said, well, this week I'm picking Colorado, next week I'm picking Dallas, the week after Winnipeg, and I don't think anybody would be surprised of any of 6 teams getting to the Stanley Cup final. That to me is the magic of what's happening in the West. And the other key thing is I heard you guys talking about games in March not meaning as much, or not having a different meaning rather than when you're scrapping for the playoffs. Home ice advantage is going to mean something in the playoffs. Home ice, when you get to the third round, you better try to make sure you're ahead of the Avalanche, ahead of the Stars, or ahead of the Jets, because it will be a factor when your bodies are run down, when your fans are rabid, and that extra game and gate at home ice will make a huge difference, I think. So points at this point of the season at the top of the standings can be just as much important for a team like Vancouver or a team like Edmonton or a team like Dallas, Colorado, or Winnipeg.
Chris Simon, this week we found out not good news at all. He was loved by so many people. The family is blaming CTE. John, the NHL's not there yet to blame CTE. What are your thoughts?
Well, obviously, to see a man take his own life at 52 is disappointing, shocking. It's terrible for the family. I did not know Chris Simon. I knew him as a player. I was around him as a player. He was a consummate teammate from everybody that I talked to then and now. The position the league has on CTE is one that I think a lot of people have to wonder the reason for.
Yeah.
What is the reason why they won't admit it? Is there something that, from a legal perspective, we saw the National Football League finally come to grips with it, and I think football has been better for it. I certainly hope, and I know I saw Gary and Bill this week talk about it. I certainly hope that there will be a time and a place where CTE will be admitted to being an issue in the game. And then we're going to have the Pandora's box of that, Rick, is we're going to have to figure out, if they do admit CTE is a bigger issue, what we do about the game. How do we change the whole concept of hit to the head? And I'm not just talking about body checks. I am talking about fighting. We're going to have, if we believe that CTE, and I'm not saying we don't, but if the National Hockey League finally believes that CTE is an issue, then fighting has to disappear. Yeah. It has to disappear. And guys, I heard Shane talk about Matt Rempe. Mm-hmm. Do you see fighting disappearing now?
No.
And so that's the argument. That's the juxtaposition in the game. And there has to be some solid discussion. And I truly believe there is discussion, but there has to be solid discussion and public discourse about it in order to satisfy everybody's positions with a really sad situation when it comes to a player like Chris Simon.
Yeah. We look at fights differently now. Hey, sorry, John, you want to expand on that?
No, we do look at fighting, except that when Matt Rempe shows up, we don't.
Yeah, that's it.
And we've gone 2 steps forwards, and then we got 4 steps back.
Yeah.
I mean, tell the people at the Garden in New York when Rempe's fighting that they're not enjoying themselves.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Nobody's leaving the ring.
There's a primal level of entertainment there, and will the game be better for her if it goes away? Ask the families of the people who have passed. that's part of it. Hey, John, before we go any further, I heard you talk on the Bob McCown podcast about the possibility of the NHL going back to Atlanta for a third time. How can anyone think that's a good idea? Am I off base here?
I'll give you 1 billion reasons.
Yeah. Okay.
Why.
Yeah. Of course.
But and the other thing is, I think both. There are two different groups bidding or lobbying for the position right now, and both are not really in Atlanta. One is in Upper Fulton County, which is the suburbs, and the other is in Forsyth County, which is again the suburbs, where the Atlanta Braves have moved to and had tremendous success. The bottom line is Phillips Arena, which is now State Farm Arena, is in a horrible part of town. Nobody ever wanted to go to a game there. They didn't want to go to a Hawks game there. They didn't want to go to a Thrashers game there. They didn't want to go to a Flames game there when the original building, the Omni, was in the same location. That was the problem. Atlanta's a beautiful city. It's a big city. It's a bustling city. But you got to put the arena in the right place. And now people are saying, okay, if we put the arena in the right place, give us another chance. And that's exactly what's happening.
That makes sense. You always make sense, John. Thanks so much
Absolutely.
for doing this. Appreciate it.
As long as I don't have to talk about people with vaginas, I'm in good shape.
We'll leave that one alone.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll move on.
You guys won't even say Lake Titicaca.
Yeah.
Come on now.
No, I'm not going there.
You're the only one who pronounces it the right way.
Yeah, I'm not
Maybe
going
that's
there.
why.
I get in enough trouble, John. I get in enough trouble.
Thanks, John.
Cheers, boys.